Hey everyone, George here. Today we're looking at the 1992 Robert Zemeckis directed dark comedy Death Becomes Her. This film stars Meryl Streep, Goldie Hawn, Isabella Rossellini, and Bruce Willis. Also a real fun fact, Fabio is in this movie for like a few seconds. Now, what made this film stand out back in the day were the special effects in the film. They were done by Industrial Light and Magic, and in fact, the special effects in this film were so good and so groundbreaking that it won an Academy Award for Best Visual Effects that year. Again, I just want to stress just how good the effects are in this movie, because they still hold up today. The film really was ahead of its time, and that's part of the reason why people still talk about the film today. Another reason is because it is now a musical on Broadway. Real quick before we get started, I am going to spoil this movie from beginning to end, top to bottom. So if you never saw the movie, stop this video, go watch the movie, then come back, sit down, and hear what I have to say, because it's a really, really fun movie. Okay, with that out of the way, let me tell you what this film is about. Madeline is a Hollywood/Broadway actress who thrives on attention. And one day she meets her friend Helen's fiance, Dr. Ernest Menville. Madeline and Ernest end up actually getting married. And years later, Helen comes back into the picture looking younger than ever. Actually, she and Madeline end up taking a potion that promises eternal youth. But there's a catch. Though your body won't age, it also won't heal itself. So if you get hurt, it will stay like that forever. So there's some serious conflict between the two characters, and they get into some big fights and really hurt each other, and that leads to some really impressive special effects. And aside from the special effects in this film, what makes this movie work so well is the cast. The cast is really good. You have Meryl Streep, who plays this like stage and screen diva really well. Goldie Hawn is great as a woman seeking vengeance. And you have Bruce Willis playing this nervous guy stuck between two feuding zombies really well. And it's really funny because that's actually a very different role than you would normally see Bruce Willis in. As I was saying earlier, the visual effects in this film were really groundbreaking at the time. And it all looked pretty good, and it still holds up really good today. And that's because Robert Zemeckis did a really good job directing this film. You know, he did a really good job directing the actors, blocking the shots, making sure everything was aligned and perfectly done for the visual effects in this movie. Also, something that I like about this movie is that it feels like a longer and bigger budgeted episode of Tales from the Crypt, which I always think things like that is really funny, because you get these situations where you would have people that would normally like turn their noses and look down on content like Tales from the Crypt and like horror movies and other horror content in general. But if they go and like want to watch the Meryl Streep movie and they turn on this movie and be like, oh, Meryl Streep is in this film, and they watch it, they're going to actually end up seeing content that is very similar to something you would see in Tales from the Crypt, or just the horror genre in general. For instance, the moment when Madeline falls down the stairs and her body is all twisted, they have this fun shot that's like reminiscent of horror movies. You know, it's where the main character thinks they defeated the villain in the film. And you know, the main character is in the foreground, and then in the background, the villain is like on the floor, like the bad guy's on the floor, and they slowly get back up. You know, a shot like that is in this film. You know, a great example of like that shot is that famous shot in the movie Halloween, where you have Jamie Lee Curtis leaning against the doorway, looking out into the hallway, and then you have Michael Myers slowly getting up. You know, you have like shots like that, and in this movie you have a shot where you have Bruce Willis in the front, and then you have Meryl Streep's body all twisted in the background, and then her body just sort of untwists itself and gets back up, and then slowly walks over to Bruce Willis's character. It's very funny. So you have like these elements that you would normally find in a horror movie, but it's here in this Meryl Streep film. Another moment that resembles a horror movie is the scene that, you know, everyone thinks about when they think about this movie. It's the scene where Goldie Hawn gets the hole blasted through her midsection. You know, honestly, those shots still hold up today. And that's actually a testament to just how good the special effects were in this film. Aside from being a fun horror-esque comedy, the film also has like a lot to say. It tackles themes like vanity, the paradoxes that come with eternal life, and it even covers morality and what it means to be like a good and happy person. Something that's actually really fun in the movie is how Bruce Willis's character moves through life being miserable. He's like always drinking, always drunk. He was kind of just like a depressed man. He stopped being a doctor and became a mortician. And actually he became such a good mortician that the two leading characters in this movie want him to take the potion as well so he can stay alive and keep their like upkeep and their like facade going, since like their like paint starts peeling and their body starts getting damaged by by, you know, just living life. Also real quick, those two characters are not the only ones that want Bruce Willis to take the potion and become immortal. Basically, Isabella Rossellini's character wants him to take the potion as well so he can preserve her and her clients as well. And this aspect actually adds to his comical misery in the film, because it plays with the idea that even if he had eternal life, he would still have to like work and be forced to please the women in his life. And this part of the film ultimately leads to a very comical climax. It's where Bruce Willis's character is dangling from like great heights. He's so high up that, if he falls, he wouldn't survive it, right? And you have Meryl Streep and Goldie Hawn on the roof telling Bruce Willis's character to take the potion so he can survive. In that moment, his character had a moment of clarity where he finally defied those characters and refused to take the potion. And then he falls, but he doesn't plummet to his death. He actually survives, and the way he survives is actually a really fun and entertaining joke in the movie. And then from that point on, he then flees from this mansion and from those two characters, and he actually never returns again. This then leads to the ending of the movie. It's many years later, and Ernest is now deceased, and his funeral is being held with all his loved ones in attendance. The priest that is giving the sermon fills in the gaps and basically fills you in on what Ernest has been doing since he left the movie, the storyline in the movie. And basically, Ernest left the crazy marble mansion and went on a journey of fulfillment and generosity. He had a family, he had children, he traveled, he founded nonprofits and foundations, and he even donated to charities. Basically, he left that life that you saw in the movie, and he went from being this drunk, miserable, washed-up doctor to being a really substantial person that contributes to society. Also, secretly in attendance of this funeral is Madeline and Helen. They sit in the back and they laugh while judging the new life that Ernest went on to live. They're listening to the priest speak, and they're hearing about all the good things this character did after he left their lives. And they're like judging him, and they're laughing and they're snickering about it. And this shows that after all those years, they still were quite selfish and unable to see or at least openly admit that they chose a wrong path in life. This part of the story is very similar to Oscar Wilde's book, The Picture of Dorian Gray, and at the end of this film, the two characters basically got what they wanted. They got eternal youth. But of course it came with a cost. The two characters, after years of wear and tear and living an elaborate lifestyle, it basically turned their bodies almost unusable. They can't really live the life that they want to live anymore because their bodies are just falling apart, literally. When this film first came out back in the day, it got mixed reviews, but over time, it actually became a cult classic. It's funny, it's weird, and it even has some deep messages on life mixed into the film. Also now, with it being a musical on Broadway, it's finding a whole new audience. Well, that is the movie Death Becomes Her. It's really smart. It's a really smart and funny and really well-made movie. Honestly, I think it's one of Robert Zemeckis' best films. So if you haven't seen it, go right now, go watch the movie. And if you've already seen it, watch it again because it's pretty damn good. Bye.